Hello, this is Andy Mangum from Brookhaven College, and I'm going to present some PowerPoint presentation principles for public speaking. A couple of things to keep in mind. One, when I say PowerPoint, I'm really talking about anything that might be used for visual aids in a speech. You could be using Prezi or Keynote or really any form of technology. I'm just going to use PowerPoint because that's what I require in my class, and it's just easier to talk about it that way. The other thing is that I'm talking about public speaking, and there are some concepts here that students often say, well, that makes the presentation or the document that I create look really boring. And I agree, in most cases it does. If you follow my design principles, it does create something that visually may be less attractive than it would be if you use some other techniques. But you're speaking in public, and so you want to keep that fact in mind. So with that, here are 5 principles for using PowerPoint to give oral presentations. The first principle is prepare PowerPoint slides with oral presentations in mind. PowerPoint can be used in a variety of ways. It can be used to create a document that people would read at a kiosk. It can be used to circulate ideas to colleagues and to clients. It can be used to accompany online presentations. In a lot of cases with the online presentations, you're showing everything that you say. Every word that comes out of the speaker's mouth shows up on the screen. That's because a lot of times people are actually reading that instead of listening to the presentation. But what we're talking about here is those presentations where you're standing in the room and you're using PowerPoint to supplement what you say. So one of the things you want to make sure you remember is that we speak differently than we write. We write with more prepositional phrases, with more conjunctions. We write longer sentences. When we speak, we don't tend to use that. And if you've ever tried to read out loud something that you have written, you'll notice the difference. So with your presentations, you want to make sure that you're putting together things that sound the way you sound rather than look the way you write. A second principle is that you want to direct your audience's attention to the message. Whenever you show something on your computer screen, your audience must make a choice about whether to make sense out of what you've put on the screen or whether to listen to you. And so if there's a difference between those two things, or if there's extraneous stuff up on the screen, then your audience is going to get distracted by the extraneous stuff rather than listening to what you say. That's why I encourage students not to put pictures for decoration on PowerPoint presentations, because that sort of stuff doesn't direct their audience's attention to the message. I discourage students from using too many of the templates, the pretty templates that PowerPoint gives us. They're beautiful, but they also can be distracting and pull your audience's attention away from the message that you're delivering. A picture is worth 1,000 words. You want to make sure that the 1,000 words your pictures generate are the thousands words that are related to your message. Third principle is that the slides and the oral presentation of your speech need word-to-word coherence. That means everything that you show needs to have coherence with what you say. Even slight variations between words shown on the screen and the words said will cause the audience to wonder what's going on. Take a look at this slide. This speaker is talking about shaping the Navy's reserve, objective operational support. And so this speaker should say the words, shaping the Navy's reserve, objective operational support. If the speaker says goal instead of objective, then people might think, well, I know the difference between a goal and an objective, or at least I've been taught the difference between a goal and objective. I wonder how he's using those terms interchangeably. Similarly, if he uses the word tactical instead of operational, then again, the audience might be confused as to what he's saying and spend too much of their mental energy trying to understand the concept. So to rephrase this third principle, I would say it this way. You don't have to show everything you're going to say, but you do have to say everything you're going to show. Not every word that comes out of your mouth needs to appear on the screen. We've been in presentations like that. They are ungodly boring. Don't do that. But rather, make sure that what you show is what your audience needs to see. Remember, you don't have to show everything you're going to say, but you do have to say everything you show. This includes pictures, by the way. If you put a picture up there, you need to talk about it. You need to explain how it's related to the message. Otherwise, it's just a distraction. Fourth principle is keep it simple somehow. This is called the KISS principle. Sometimes people say, keep it simple, stupid. I don't say that because you're not stupid. And because I want you to remember that this is an effort that you have to make. Concepts are not generically simple. They are quite difficult. And using PowerPoint while speaking is not simple. It's hard. But you have to find a way to keep it simple somehow. Make life easy on yourself. Don't put a lot of extraneous stuff in there that isn't necessary. Make sure that you're able to use the tool that you have. This brings me to my fifth concept, which is exactly that. Use the tool. Otherwise, use the tool. Don't let it use you. Former MIT professor Edward Tufte has been highly critical of PowerPoint. One of his main contentions is that PowerPoint has its own cognitive style that often works against effective communication and idea generation. And you can read this. He's got a document entitled The Cognitive Style of PowerPoint. And it's a fascinating document. It's a scary document, but a fascinating document. But it really does point out the fact that Microsoft, and I love the products, I'm not trying to dismiss them, but Microsoft often makes assumptions about how you want to communicate. And if you aren't prepared to manipulate it so that it does what you want it to do, you're likely to fall into some patterns of communication that really don't fit either your message or your audience or your way of thinking. So don't rely so heavily on the built-in templates, the assumptions that it makes. And when you run into a situation where it's not doing what you want it to do, work at figuring out how to get it to do what you do want it to do. There's this wonderful thing called Google, and you can type in your question about how to do something on PowerPoint, and it will give you an answer. Sometimes it'll even give you a video to show you how to do that. So you use those principles to change the video the way you want it to. All right. With those 5 principles, I hope that you'll be able to get a start on making better presentations, and we'll talk a little bit more about some others as the presentations go on.